Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Road to FIDE Master series. This is the episode number 94, in which I will cover the fourth round of the 5th Rigo Janos Memorial Round Robin Tournament. Let's see it. If you follow my channel closely, you would know that just in the morning of that day, I won a game against an international master. Therefore, I was going into the afternoon game with high hopes and over the moon. My opponent was rated just over 2000, clearly the lowest rated player in the field. However, at that time, he also had 2 points out of 3 games, so it was a no joke of a player, young, good, promising, let's say, prospect. So yeah, I wanted to play a good game, obviously win the game, and let's see how it went. After my e4, which was my main weapon during the tournament, my opponent chose c5, and I was happy about it, and I expected it too. Knight f3, e6, d4, so open Sicilian, takes, and knight c6. I was mostly expecting a6 from that opponent, going into the Can Sicilian, but I kind of knew that he also chooses to go into the Taiman of Sicilian, and that's exactly what we've got. And in order to, let's say, save some time for myself, I was trying to go through the transpositions, let's say, that may occur in the Can, in the Taimanov, in the 4-knight Sicilian too, and I decided that I want to go for the bishop e3, a6, a3 line. This line I like a lot. If you remember, I might have played it already as many as 3 or more times on this channel in the Road to FIDE Master series, so quite a lot. And I believe, no, I can, on top of my head, I can count 4. So maybe let's put it to full 5 games. So yeah, a system that I choose, that I like, that I understand a lot. The main downside, however, especially for this game, was that I did not refresh all the lines, because as I've said, I focused mostly on the Can Sicilian, but still, when playing so many times, you kind of remember what to do. So after b5, which is one of the critical options, I took on c6 as the theory suggests, queen takes, bishop e2, bishop e7, castle, rook c8. Until that point, everything seemed clear. I continued my development on the king side, my opponent did so on the queen side, usual stuff. In here I have a choice how to continue my development. The three options usually and mainly I believe is to play queen d2 or queen d3 or queen d4. And queen d2 I believe is the most commonly played move. However, I do not like it as much because obvious further development from my opponent will include the development of the king side, and if you think about it, knight will come to f6, putting the pressure to the pawn. The b pawn is extended, so b4 might come in also with the bishop taking on b4. So queen on d2 always seemed a little bit misplaced on that square for me, because there is the pin, there is the pressure, there is the pressure, there is the pressure. I can even extend it towards my king. So I didn't really understand why would someone go into queen d2 line. Queen d4 holds a little bit different of a, maybe not a problem, but situation, let's say, which is that after knight f6, which would be an obvious move, bishop c5 might be incoming. So let's imagine that I try to protect the pawn somehow, maybe even with f3. After bishop c5, there are plenty of exchanges. Those kind of endgames are usually okay for black. So I was happy some time ago, I believe it's already like 2 years or something, to prepare this queen d3 line, which is not a novelty by any means, but it's a little bit less commonly played move. So here it comes, big prep out of after like 2 or more years of being just in my, let's say, library. There it goes, there it is on the board. Opponent have a few choices, or instead of going for choices, I should tell you why is it a better move than those two. As you can imagine, I avoid the pin, I avoid the exchanges. Those are the two good things about it. What's bad thing about that move is that itself it does not accomplish much. I mean, what does the queen even do here, right? But I have some ideas for it. Let's wait for it. Knight f6 was obviously played. I am now playing rook f to d1, hitting the pawn, and I want to play it with that rook so that I will leave the rook on a1. I will show you in a second why do I do it. Obviously knight e4 is not a move because at the end I am checkmating the opponent. So in here he has a choice what to do. And humanly speaking, it's not that easy to make a correct choice. Apparently, queen c7 looks like an interesting idea. Bishop e7 seems a little bit passive maybe. After that I have bishop f3 trying to go for this, so queen c7 is also a prophylactic move against this bishop f3 idea. And d6 that was played in the game allows me to play queen d4. So you may ask me, okay, why did I waste the tempo? As I've said, it was in order to avoid this exchange. So I kept as many pieces on the board as possible. And my idea with the queen on d4 is to play a4. That's why I wanted to keep my rook there. Rook, knight, bishop, everything looks in the direction of the queen side. I have the pawn majority here, 3 against 2. I knew that a4 is the desired breakthrough, and queen d4 helps with it a lot. I tricked my opponent, and it was well worth this one additional tempo that I've lost. However, as you can tell, queen d4 already does not help with this pawn, right? I mean, can it be taken? Maybe, maybe not. And I couldn't really remember. Apparently, after bishop f3, f5, this is the crazy position in which I do not get back the pawn, but thanks to this and that attack, I disrupt opponent's king's situation. But even this position is not that easy to evaluate, at least it was not for me from the distance. Therefore, this is the point where I knew that this and that idea exists. Because I didn't refresh the notes, I didn't know if I can play it immediately. So that's why I played f3, which apparently is evaluated by the computer as an inaccuracy, because now maybe opponent can, let's say, learn his lesson and now play queen c7 and then continue maybe with d5, making use of the fact that my queen is right on the open d file, and then I will be not on time with this idea. However, my opponent perhaps did not expect any of it yet. He simply developed the piece on e7, and this is where I strike. Queen d4, here we go, right? So, what can be opponent's reaction? He can react like nothing happens, basically. He can try to react in the center by kicking away my queen, or playing d5 anyway. So after the castling, I would play a4, basically executing what I wanted. An opponent already have some problems. That's exactly what I want. So simple as that. Castle therefore is not that great of an option. e5 was the move that I calculated mostly. In here I wanted to play queen b6, so that if my opponent exchanges and perhaps plays like this, trying to kick away my bishop, I would go to a5 just to cover this square, so that b4 is not a possibility when I push a4. This was a funny line that I wanted to show because the bishop seems like it's a bad one here, but I guess it's kind of okay. If it stops b4, it should be fine, right? And then a4 is kind of crushing. So after e5 I have everything prepared. After d5 I felt like it cannot be that good of a move. The least I will be able to do is always to take, and the problem is that this pawn might be hanging at the end of some variations if the knight would like to take on d5, and for that reason pawn would have to take, and I have, you know, eternity to attack this isolated pawn, so I'm basically playing here for free for a win. So this is it, and yeah, those were the three, let's say, critical options for the opponent. After everything, I was happy, so that's great. My opponent, however, chose queen c7, which I felt like it's a little bit too late, and I said, okay, let's see what you've got, e4. And now I expected e5 mostly, because, you know, now I don't know if this is working that well, because I did not have the bishop on a5 on time, so I cannot play queen b6 really. And I was debating, should I go to a7, but then after rook a8 it's also not good, or should I go to b4, kind of under the bishop, but then after this, what was the variation here? Yeah, I'm forked. So yeah, I believe I wanted to go there, and after knight b4 I wanted to play knight a2 to attack the pawn, and once queen takes I can play here and play something like that. No, I wanted to take with the bishop so that it covers the square, and after a5 is played I have knight a2 with the attack, because the point is that with knight and bishop being there, I'm attacking the pawn. But it's just the detail. I mean, doesn't matter how do I take, it's clear that I am looking into the direction of the queen side. I have majority here, I have activity there, this is the weakness. Clearly better middle game without the queens. And yeah, I was happy at that point. I didn't know what my opponent will play, and he played b4. And I was like, okay, I take, he plays d5, I will go queen b6, and then for the lost pawn, he might finally get some activity, but I am better. So preparation worked. I tricked my opponent. I got the pawn advantage. What can go wrong? We'll see. And this is exactly what happened. So I am pawn up for nearly nothing. D4 happened, f takes, e4 takes. And I expected, to be honest, move like this, in which opponent claims back the pawn. I should rather take in here, and in here I have the decision. Do I go for that move, allowing rook c2 with some activity? And it's a question of, am I on time with pushing my pawn, or am I not on time because of the weak king? Or do I go the easier, the calmer route of like c3, claiming the majority here? Opponent would have time to protect the pawn, and I am clearly better, but maybe technically speaking it's not the easiest endgame in the world. And yeah, we have something like that, right? So I was thinking that b4 was played after calculating all this variation till the end, and I was happy with it, you know. A4 was played, I knew what I wanted. B4, I calculated, okay, here is what happened, here, here, 94, and so on. To my surprise, my opponent played, as you can tell also on the timestamp, very quickly, very bad move, castle. Why is it bad? Because the scenario that we will get is basically the very same that we've got in the in the variation that I just showed you, but I will have one more pawn because I can play e5, attack the knight. He has to go to d5 or e4, doesn't matter really that much. Takes, and position is very similar in terms of the, you know, character of it, but I have one more pawn, so I guess it's a good thing for me, right? However, in here there was a first sign that something might go wrong in this game, because for a long time from the distance and now from here, I thought that I cannot play c4 because of rook b8 and I'm losing the pawn on b2. I was calculating, okay, here the bishop is attacked, so I don't have possibility like that. So rook, bishop f1 might happen to protect the pawn, but now I'm too slow with it and so on. And only after like 5 minutes, maybe less, maybe more, I found that I can play c3 because after rook b8 I have f5 and the bishop is fine. I don't have to open up this file. So I was like, okay, it's strange from me. I mean, the first bad moment of the tournament so far. But finally I played c4, c3 thankfully, and now my opponent have a tough choice, because no move is a good one. Bishop b7, trying to protect the pawn, is met with rook d7. I'm winning on the spot. Bishop c4 with the exchange proposition, I would happily take it and then claim that with the same colored bishops with this majority, I should be winning, right? So what exactly can my opponent play? I didn't know, I didn't care, I just waited for him to move, and I waited for quite a long time because it was over 20-minute thinking process. A5 was played, and I said, okay, I can just take it, right? I can take it. I allow bishop b3 to be activated. I allow bishop c5 to be activated, but I said, okay, doesn't matter that much because after rook a8, all that happens is the exchange over the a file, and I claim my 2-pawn advantage on the queen side anyway. So basically this a5 move that my opponent played 5 moves ago allowed him to exchange one piece and one set of pawns. I'm okay with it. So we could have gotten very similar position without this pawn. Now I have it additionally, so it seems like it's an okay position to have. And the problem of this position for me, mostly psychologically I would say, is that I knew that I'm completely winning, but it was not that clear to come up with the specific plan after which I would see the winning position at the end of it, if that makes sense. So I have plenty of moves that look promising, plenty of ideas that can be executed and should be okay for me, but nothing concrete yet. And sometimes in this type of positions I tend to burn the time trying to find the perfect solution, which then backfires because there is no perfect solution in the position, and yeah, I end up playing not so well, if that makes sense. Obviously the easiest way to play this position, maybe I will include one more move because rook a1 actually is not that bad. The easiest way of continuing would be to simply play bishop d6. Takes, I have 3 connected passed pawns. I can just push this pawn, push the other. I mean, why didn't I go for this? To be honest, I have literally no idea. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I didn't play this. Yeah, it's baffling. just do this, just play it, right? Maybe it was something related to the rook b8 move, so that I cannot attack the bishop and then take the bishop because I am checkmated first or something. Maybe it was some one small concrete variation, but ideologically speaking, I have to be winning here in multiple ways. So I don't know. Calculations were not good, evaluation was not good, and now I started playing terribly. Rook a5 to begin with. Who can tell me what does the rook do on a5 that it didn't do on a1? Because I don't know. Uh, yeah, on a1 at least it covered the first rank. In here, after a few moves, you will see that I will have some problems. The problem of mine was that I wanted to rely on calculations purely to win the game instead of simply evaluating the position, going at it calmly and just, cruising through to the, let's say, finishing line. Rook a5 was meant to be played with such continuation. Bishop e3, b4, f6. I knew that this attempt might come because opponent wants to activate the rook somehow and let's say attack like this. Let's imagine that b5 attacking the bishop, e4 seemed like the good square, b6, fe, rook e5, and I said I will play rook a5 so that after this whole variation happens I can play like this and I'm winning. That was my thinking process. First of all, opponent does not have to go to e4. Indeed, this position occurred in the game and he did play to b7, so this whole variation makes no sense. And on top of that, maybe even bigger problem is that after rook a5 that I chose, after bishop e3, I still was including only bishop e4 in my calculations. But on top of that, I realized that I am nearly losing there. Because after the variation I just showed you in bishop e4, here, there is rook a8. And funny enough, I don't have any way to protect my king. Because I made this very, very strange maneuver, because my bishop is out of play, because this one cannot do it on his own, and because those bishops are looking at the direction of my king. So from this position, and thinking about how to win, because I have like 7 ways to do so, I came to basically this position one move later, or maybe that one, I'm not sure where exactly that I calculate this, thinking about saving that position, from having amazing like +4, I guess, advantage to saving my king from checkmate. And I realized that I can play h4, here, and I'm somewhat escaping, but at least what can the opponent do is to take the exchange. So how did it went so bad, so badly, so early? I have no idea, but this is the reality, and now I have started to panic a little bit. I didn't know, should I admit that I made a mistake and go back? Should I switch the idea completely and not push b5 but rather c pawn? Should I maybe play this to attack the rook so that it would be away from the f file? I just didn't know. I was burning time and I didn't know. I played b4 anyway. I played b5 anyway. As you can tell, the time is ticking, going away. Nothing ever came to my mind that would be great for me. And after bishop b7, I said, okay, I am too scared. I don't know how to continue without making my king's position good. I have to take on f6 and play bishop g3 to cover all the entry points for the rook and to place the rook onto the 6th rank so it would not have this kind of maneuvers that we saw because the pawn is blocking, right? But wasting one move, wasting second move, having the rook on the edge of the board like that, surely is not the best way to coordinate the pieces when you are willing to win the game. In here, from the distance at least, it looked like my opponent does not have a clear way of playing, but he played most humanly, most human possible way, because he just started pushing the pawns, unleashing the pawns on the king side, making my heart jump even more, because it was kind of scary to have so badly coordinated pieces, back rank weakness, and the pawns pushing at you. But to begin with, I calculated finally one good variation after further few minutes of thinking. c4, h5, h4 to make way for my king, and after g4, rook a3. That was my point when playing c4. I just wanted to make sure that it works. The idea was to finally bring the rook around let's say through the d file to the d8, d7 squares to fight for some activity, with the tempo to the bishop, with the help of the pawn protecting the other. So this sequence was kind of okay, a little bit too late though, to be precise, because most of my advantage disappeared. My opponent played bishop d4, usual choice, because after rook d3, e5 happens. This is a solid structure which does not allow my rook to enter. However, from the distance, thankfully I spotted c5 possibility, so that if my opponent accepts the pawn, I can give a check, and so on, so on. This pawn is hanging, this bishop is activating itself, I can actually win the game. So after c5, bishop e4 was needed, trying to hit my rook before taking the pawn, but I maintained the control over the d file with the rook d2 move. And after bishop c5 happened, finally, bishop e5 happened from my side. So at least I am lowering down the tension on the board while maintaining the advantage. My opponent in here fought for nearly 15 minutes, so he wasted basically all his time. And one thing I have to tell you about this tournament was that we did not have time control. Even though it was round robin tournament, even though you were eligible to fight for the international master norm, there was no time control. So in a way it felt like fast classical, you know, because you have so many important choices. This is indeed move number 40, so usually in the bigger tournaments you would get this additional half an hour to figure it all out. In here we didn't. So his choice at the first glance was a bad one to think for so long. At the other hand, though, it was a good decision, because in here he has to make a statement. Does he want to exchange the rooks or keep them? In which scenario, with or without the rooks, will his drawing chances increase? So he fought for a long time. Unfortunately, I was still relying on mostly emotions and time travel than anything concrete. So after rook f2 was played, I immediately replied with bishop c4 check, willing to go into the endgame without the rooks, even though there was a bishop g3 possibility that I did not even thought about. With the point being that once such move happens, which obviously looks terrible, I can now play bishop c4 check and then claim the advantage. Simple as that. Even in the time scramble, I should be able to see this. I wasn't, because I knew that, you know, I would I would love to keep the rooks, but I couldn't find such an easy move, because obviously if the rook goes away, I mean, we can play with the rooks on the board. So yeah, I gave a check on c4, king h7 happened, takes, and we got ourselves this kind of the position. At least I knew that I will not lose, probably, but with my overall level of play at that day, I was not too sure of it, unfortunately. But will I win this? Yet another story, right? To begin with, thankfully my decision making is rather easy. I need to protect the pawn that is hanging, so I played bishop f6. King g6 happened, bishop d8, trying to have an eye both on this pawn and maybe help that one to continue further. And in here my opponent played king f5. And it seemed really strange to me, like, why would he play such move? Because as long as the king was somewhere around here, there was a possibility to protect this pawn. Once he went to f5, I can play bishop f7 and attack the pawn, basically claiming it, like, I can take it, right? I believe my opponent wanted to take over completely and play king f4, so that after bishop h5, he has king g3 and checkmate is there. That's why I told you guys that maybe I might not lose the game, but there are still some possibilities. But I have this check to kick away the king, and then my pawn is lost. This indeed should be a equal position. For that reason, I knew that once the king moved there with this threat, I have to give a check now. And obviously opponent does not want to go there, because I believed that this position might be won for me. Oh no, this is the checkmate too. Wait. I knew that I wanted to do something differently. I don't remember exactly. Maybe in here I wanted to play like this, I guess. Allowed to be taken there. And then maybe go back and play something like this to create a shield from the bishop. Something like that. I don't remember exactly, because it was quite not so much time to think about it, and now I don't remember correctly. But the point is that I gave a check so that the king would go back, and I didn't realize that when I take the pawn, I was so over the moon that I kept this pawn, I have this pawn. but I don't have this one. I am taken, right? So yeah, after so many dubious choices in regards to having a plan to winning the game, through some stupid moves, then in here it was the peak of it all. I just simply did not see that my pawn is hanging. I just left it there. So yeah, and that's the story of this game. Unfortunately, the only way, therefore, to try to win this game would be to go back and then go for a firstly looking strange move, but bishop e8. What's the idea behind it? The idea is that I allow king g3 because I have bishop c6 and I x-ray the bishop on e4, protecting therefore my g2 pawn, protecting my king. And now the bishop is protected by the pawn, and the bishop then gives back to the community, to the society, to the pawn, because it covers its way onto the promotion, right? That was the whole point. So if the bishop now goes away, I can play like this. An opponent takes. The problem for me though was that I did not know is this position winning, because I knew that this type of position without the pawns should be a draw, and there is 2 against 1. So am I winning this? Apparently I am, because the control over the dark squares should allow me to push the king away, push my king up, and then take the pawns and win the game. But in the time travel, I did not see that coming either. And if I am not able to evaluate this position properly, at this point, really there is not that much that I can do. Obviously, I don't have to blunder the pawn on h4, but still, technically not the easiest position ever. Nevertheless, I still had some hope left. I played king h2 to finally get out of this corner and maybe get some space, some breathing room for myself. Bishop f2 happened. Very, very good move. And now I played b6 and I was met with g3 check. And at first it seemed like not a good decision, to be honest, because I understood that king a3 I cannot play because of the king g5, and apparently there are some checkmate patterns waiting for me. Therefore, I would have to play bishop g4 to protect myself, and after this overload, king g2, bishop b6, very important move, the game would be drawn. So I went to h1, I'm thinking, okay, I have this possibility, maybe I will be able to do something, and only then I came to realization that my king is in the cage, and I have no way of escaping ever. So my opponent, all he had to do was to drop back the bishop, so that after bishop f3, he's able to maintain the control over this diagonal, so that any time that my pawn pushes, it can be, given away. And then, even though I will be a bishop up, I cannot win this game because my king cannot escape. Amazing stuff. My opponent found it, calculated it, smiled through it, and I kind of did too, because I was playing it so badly, and in the end, this funny looking trick killed my dreams of winning the game, kind of summing it up for me during that day, during this game. And what could I do? I was thinking maybe those two bishops will, make some checkmate net, but I taught not so long ago some amateur player how to do it. I knew that, well, without the help of my king, I would not be able to do that. So instead of wasting my time, opponent's time, I decided to self-stalemate, if you may say that, if it's that even a word. I gave one bishop away, and then the other, and oh, my opponent stalemated me, right? Both my king and my pawn cannot make a move. That's a draw and a frustration from me. I played a good game from the very beginning, once more having a great prep, similarly to the game before, and in the game before, I was able to win, to convert the winning position against an international master rated over 2400. In this game, even with a bigger advantage, I was not able to convert it against a player rated 2000. So pretty frustrated for the day. It could have been 2 out of 2. And if you remember my expected, let's say, points from each game that I wanted to achieve, this game was supposed to be a 1 game. So at that point of the tournament, I was hoping to get 3 out of 4 to get myself going, to have high hopes of getting both, let's say, FIDE Master title and International Master Norm. And in here, after that game, my hopes were diminished quite a lot, because you may say, yeah, half a point is only half a point. But when you don't realize such big advantages, where are you going to find this additional half a point? It's not that easy with such good opposition. So yeah, frustration kicked in. However, next day, next game, you have to fight. You have to fight, and that's what I will do, and that's what I will show you in the analysis of the next round. So if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like to cheer me up, and then we'll see each other for the next analysis, this time of the round number 5. As of this one, thank you very much for watching. We'll see each other. Bye bye.